I sat frozen, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest, as my sister-in-law Chloe stood at the head of the table, her voice sharp and deliberate. "Let's be honest," she said, her eyes scanning the room. "Should Scarlett be banned from our family gatherings for everyone's comfort?" One by one, hands shot up. My mother-in-law Victoria, my father-in-law Robert, cousins I barely knew, their faces blank or smug. My 9-year-old daughter, Hazel, tugged at my sleeve, her eyes brimming with tears. "Mom, why do they hate us?" she whispered. The room spun. I forced a trembling smile, took her hand and stood. "Thank you for dinner," I said, my voice steady despite the sting in my eyes. We walked out, their silence deafening behind us. They thought they'd broken me. They didn't know I was already planning my next move. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit that subscribe button and tap the bell to stay updated with all our latest stories. Your support means the world. If you find this video valuable, give it a like. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below, and let's see where our community is. Now let's dive into the story. 3 years ago, my world shattered. My husband, Lucas, died in a car accident, leaving me and our daughter, Hazel, to pick up the pieces in our quiet suburban Ohio home. Back then, our family gatherings were loud, messy, beautiful chaos. Kids chasing each other through the backyard, the smell of grilled burgers in the air, Lucas strumming his guitar while Grandpa Mason sang off-key folk tunes. After the accident, those Sundays turned into a hollow quiet. At first, the family was kind. Chloe dropped off casseroles, her hugs laced with that cloying lavender perfume she always wore. Victoria and Robert, my in-laws, called to check in, insisting Hazel and I stay close. But as months turned to years, their warmth faded. Texts stopped. Invitations dried up. I wasn't family anymore, just a reminder of the son they'd lost. Hazel, though, never stopped hoping. At 9, she had Lucas's bright green eyes and his stubborn optimism. "Mom, why doesn't Grandma visit?" she'd ask, her voice small. I'd brush it off, "They're just busy, sweetheart," but the truth was heavier. They didn't want me, and I was starting to think they didn't want her either. I'd never argued, never demanded a seat at their table. I smiled through their slights, convinced keeping the peace was enough. But for Hazel, I'd try anything. So when Chloe's text pinged my phone one Thursday, "Barbecue this Sunday, would love to see you and Hazel," my stomach twisted. It felt like a trap, but Hazel's face lit up when I told her. "Can we go, Mom? Please." That was all it took. We arrived at Chloe's lakeside house 10 minutes early, the kind of place that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Manicured lawn, sparkling windows, not a speck of dirt. Hazel ran to hug her cousins, her laughter cutting through the tension I felt creeping up my spine. Chloe greeted us at the door, all smiles and syrupy charm. "Scarlett, you look great," she said, her cheek brushing mine, that lavender scent overwhelming. I nodded, forcing a smile, and stepped inside. The house buzzed with family, but the air felt wrong. Victoria was in the kitchen, slicing tomatoes, her eyes flicking past me like I was a stranger. Robert sat in the den, glued to a baseball game, offering a grunt when I said hello. No one said they were glad we came. No one asked how Hazel was doing. I offered to help with dinner, hoping to bridge the gap, but Chloe handed me a stack of napkins to fold and turned back to her conversation with Victoria. Their laughter filled the kitchen, sharp and exclusive, about vacation plans I hadn't been invited to. I folded the napkins, my hands steady, my smile practiced. I'd gotten good at this, existing in spaces where I wasn't wanted. Hazel, oblivious, played outside, her giggles a small comfort. Then Grandpa Mason shuffled over, his cane tapping the floor. He sat beside me, his weathered hand passing me a glass of lemonade. "You're stronger than they think, Scarlett," he said quietly. "You and Hazel belong here, even if they've forgotten how to show it." I swallowed hard, his words a lifeline in a room full of strangers. As the barbecue continued, I caught Chloe whispering to a cousin, her eyes darting toward me. "She won't last the night," she murmured, her voice low but clear. My chest tightened. What did she mean? What was she planning? I glanced at Hazel, laughing as she chased a firefly, and made a silent promise. Whatever Chloe had in store, I wouldn't let it break us. The smell of grilled corn and charcoal lingered as we sat around Chloe's long outdoor table, plates scattered with crumbs, glasses glinting under string lights. Hazel had run off to play with her cousins, her laughter fading into the dusk. I sipped my lemonade, forcing myself to nod along to conversations I wasn't part of: Robert's golf game, Victoria's new garden, a cousin's promotion. No one asked about Hazel's school or my job. I was invisible, a guest at a party I hadn't been invited to. Grandpa Mason sat quietly beside me, his cane propped against his chair, his presence a small anchor. I caught Chloe's glance from across the table, her smile sharp, like she was waiting for something. My stomach twisted. Whatever she'd whispered earlier, "She won't last the night," hung in my mind like a storm cloud. Then it happened. Chloe stood, her glass clinking against a spoon, the sound cutting through the chatter. Every head turned. I thought she was toasting, maybe announcing a family trip. Instead, her voice was calm, practiced, like a prosecutor addressing a jury. "We need to talk about the discomfort in this family," she said, her eyes sweeping the table, pausing on me for a fraction of a second. "It's been awkward, hasn't it? This tension we all feel. I think it's time we're honest about where it's coming from." My chest tightened. I didn't understand, not yet. Victoria leaned forward, nodding slightly. Robert folded his arms, staring at his plate. The air shifted, heavy, expectant. Chloe sighed, a performative little sound. "I'm not trying to cause drama," she said, her tone anything but sincere. "But I think we can all agree things haven't been the same since Scarlett started coming around again." My name hit like a slap. I felt the blood drain from my face, my fingers gripping the edge of my chair. She turned to me, her smile softening, patronizing. "We know you've been through so much, Scarlett. We all loved Lucas. But we've moved on, and it feels like we're walking on eggshells around you. It's exhausting." I couldn't breathe. The table was silent, every eye on me or avoiding me. I wanted to speak, to ask what I'd done, but my throat closed up. Then she said it. "So let's make it simple," Chloe continued, her voice bright, like she was suggesting a game. "A quick vote, no hard feelings. Should Scarlett be excluded from future family events, just to keep the peace?" I thought I'd misheard her. A vote? My mind reeled, my body numb, like I was floating above the scene. Then the hands started going up. Victoria's, slow but deliberate. Robert's, with a grunt. A cousin, then another, their faces blank or sheepish. Even people I hadn't spoken to all night, relatives who barely knew me, raised their hands. Every single one, except Grandpa Mason. He sat still, his jaw tight, his hand resting on his cane. I felt like I was drowning. Then I heard her. Hazel. She'd come back from playing, probably to ask for a second slice of watermelon. She stood at the edge of the table, her green eyes wide, her voice trembling. "Mom, why do they hate us?" The words broke me. Not the vote, not Chloe's smirk, but my daughter's pain. I looked at her, her small hands clenched, tears spilling down her cheeks. I wanted to scream, to flip the table, to demand answers. Instead, I forced a smile, my lips shaking. "Thank you for dinner," I said, my voice quiet but clear. I stood, took Hazel's hand, and started walking. No one spoke. No one stopped us. Grandpa Mason's voice followed, low and firm. "This is cruel, Chloe." She didn't respond. We reached the car, Hazel's sobs muffled against my side. I buckled her in, her head resting on my arm, her body shaking. I drove home in silence, the kind that sits in your bones. Hazel fell asleep, her tear-streaked face lit by passing streetlights. I kept my eyes on the road, my hands steady, but inside I was burning. Chloe hadn't just humiliated me. She'd hurt my daughter in front of everyone and called it peace. When we got home, I carried Hazel to bed, her small hand still clutching my sleeve. I sat in the dark, her breathing soft beside me, and found an envelope slipped under our front door. Inside, a note in Chloe's neat handwriting. "You don't belong." I stared at it, my resolve hardening. She thought this was the end. She was wrong. Hazel's question echoed in my head as I sat in the dark, the house silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Mom, why do they hate us? Her words were a knife, twisting deeper with every replay of that night. Chloe's smug vote, the raised hands, Hazel's tears. I'd tucked her into bed, her small body curled against mine, but sleep wouldn't come for me. The envelope from Chloe with its cold note, "You don't belong," lay on the kitchen counter, a taunt I couldn't ignore. For 3 years, I'd swallowed their slights, smiled through their exclusion, all for Hazel's sake. But this was different. They'd humiliated my daughter, and that was a line they shouldn't have crossed. I wasn't just hurt. I was done playing nice. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Hazel, and made a cup of tea I didn't drink. The clock read 2:17 a.m. I opened my laptop, the screen's glow harsh in the quiet. I pulled up old texts from Chloe and Victoria, messages I'd saved out of habit, not suspicion. There they were, a trail of subtle cuts. "No need to come to Hazel's place, Scarlett, it might be awkward. Just drop her off at the picnic. It's easier for everyone. You're so sensitive, we're just trying to move on." Each one stung anew, a pattern I hadn't seen until now. They hadn't just drifted away. They'd been pushing me out, one polite jab at a time. My hands trembled as I scrolled, anger replacing the numbness. Then it hit me, Hazel's smartwatch. She'd been wearing it at the barbecue, a gift from Lucas with a voice memo feature she loved for recording her secret spy missions. She'd left it in her jacket pocket, which I'd grabbed as we fled Chloe's house. Could it have recorded the vote? My heart raced. I dug through the coat rack, finding the jacket crumpled at the bottom. The watch wasn't there. I froze, retracing the night. Hazel had taken it off during dinner, complaining the strap was itchy. It must still be at Chloe's in the guest room where we'd left our things. If that recording existed, it could be proof. Chloe's words, the family's silence, all of it. I didn't think. I grabbed my keys, slipped on sneakers, and drove to Chloe's house. The streets empty at 4 a.m. My pulse pounded as I parked a block away, the lakeside house looming in the pre-dawn haze. This was reckless. Breaking in could ruin everything, but I needed that watch. I crept to the side door, left unlocked as always, and slipped inside. The house was still, the air thick with the scent of lavender and leftover charcoal. I moved silently, my sneakers soft on the hardwood, toward the guest room. Every creak felt like a siren. I reached the room, my hands shaking as I scanned the coat rack. There it was, Hazel's watch, tucked in her jacket pocket. As I grabbed it, a floorboard groaned downstairs. My breath caught. Footsteps, slow, heavy, came closer. Robert, probably up for a glass of water. I pressed myself against the wall, the watch clutched to my chest. The footsteps paused, then faded toward the kitchen. I exhaled, my legs trembling, and bolted for the side door, slipping out just as a light flicked on inside. I ran to my car, my heart hammering, and drove home, the watch burning a hole in my pocket. Back in my kitchen, I plugged it into my laptop. The audio was there, clear as day. Chloe's voice, smug and deliberate. "Scarlett's too weak to fight us. Let's make it official." The silence of the raised hands. Hazel's soft, "Mom, why?" I leaned back, my mind racing. This wasn't just evidence. It was a weapon. I called Grandpa Mason, my voice low to avoid waking Hazel. "Chloe planned that vote," I said. "She's been planning it since Lucas died." He sighed, his voice heavy. "I know, Scarlett. She's been whispering to the family for months, saying you're holding them back. But you're stronger than she thinks." His words steadied me. I wasn't alone. Then I played the audio again, and something caught my ear, a faint whisper, almost lost in the background. It was Layla, a cousin who'd raised her hand. "This isn't right," she'd said, so quiet I'd missed it before. My eyes narrowed. Was Layla doubting Chloe? Could she be an ally? I didn't know, but that whisper was a crack in their wall, and I was ready to break it wide open. The smartwatch audio played on a loop in my mind, Chloe's cold voice, "Scarlett's too weak to fight us," and the damning silence of raised hands. I sat at my kitchen table, the dawn light creeping through the blinds, Hazel still asleep upstairs. That recording wasn't just proof. It was power, and I was done letting Chloe control the narrative. By 8 a.m., I'd found Natalie Harper, a family law attorney with a reputation for cutting through emotional manipulation cases like a blade. I emailed her the audio, the texts from Chloe and Victoria, and a detailed account of the vote. Within hours, she called. "This is targeted harassment," she said, her voice calm but firm. "And involving your daughter makes it worse. We can make them regret this." For the first time in days, I exhaled. Natalie's office was a small, no-nonsense space downtown, with stacks of files and a coffee mug that read, "Justice brews slowly." I sat across from her, my hands clasped tight, and laid out everything. Chloe's vote, Hazel's tears, the years of subtle exclusion. She listened, jotting notes, her eyes narrowing when I played the audio. "This is gold," she said, leaning back. "We'll draft a cease and desist letter, naming every adult who raised their hand. We'll cite emotional harassment, manipulation of a minor, and a pattern of exclusion. If they push back, we escalate to Child Protective Services or a restraining order." I nodded, my resolve hardening. This wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting Hazel. Then came the bombshell. That afternoon, my coworker Jenna pulled me aside at work, her face tight. "Scarlett, people are talking. Chloe's been calling around, saying you threatened the family at the barbecue, that you're unstable." My stomach dropped. Chloe hadn't just humiliated me in private. She was spreading lies to my colleagues, risking my job as a school administrator. I called Natalie immediately. "Defamation," she said, her tone sharp. "We'll add it to the letter. If Chloe keeps this up, she's looking at a lawsuit." The stakes were higher now. My reputation, my livelihood, Hazel's stability. Chloe was attacking it all. Natalie's team worked fast. By Wednesday, the letters were ready, each one addressed individually to Chloe, Victoria, Robert, and every cousin who'd voted. The language was surgical. It outlined the vote, quoted Chloe's 2-week line from the audio, and referenced specific texts. "Skip Hazel's recital, it's awkward," to prove a pattern. It accused Chloe of defamation for her workplace rumors, warning of legal consequences if she continued. The final paragraph was a thunderclap. "Any further attempts to isolate Scarlett or create a hostile environment for Hazel will result in a formal complaint to Child Protective Services and a motion to limit unsupervised access to the minor." I read it over, my hands steady. This wasn't a plea. It was a line in the sand. The letters went out Thursday morning, sealed and stamped, delivered to each family member's doorstep. I didn't tell anyone, didn't post online, didn't send a warning. I made Hazel's breakfast, packed her lunch, and drove her to school, her small voice chatting about a science project. But inside, I felt a strange calm, like the moment before a storm breaks. By noon, my phone lit up. Victoria's voicemail, her voice shaky. "Scarlett, this is too much. Can we talk?" Robert's text, curt, "You've gone too far." I ignored them, sipping my coffee, the weight of their silence shifting to panic. Natalie had been right. They didn't expect me to fight back. Then Chloe texted at 3:15 p.m., a lawyer. "Scarlett? I'm sorry, let's meet and talk this out." Her words dripped with desperation, but I knew better. Chloe didn't apologize unless she had a plan. I showed the text to Natalie, who smirked. "She's scared. That letter hit her where it hurts, her image. Don't meet her yet. Let her sweat." I nodded, but my mind raced. What was Chloe plotting now? Was she trying to undo the damage, or was this another trap to pull me back into her game? I glanced at Hazel's smartwatch on the counter, its tiny microphone a reminder of the power I held. Whatever Chloe had planned, I was ready. But her next move would test me in ways I hadn't expected. The letters hit like a shockwave, and the family's silence was louder than any argument. My phone buzzed relentlessly that Thursday. Victoria's voicemails, Robert's terse texts, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years pleading for a call. I ignored them all, stirring Hazel's oatmeal Friday morning, her chatter about a school art project grounding me. Chloe's message lingered in my mind. "I'm sorry, let's meet and talk this out." Natalie's warning echoed. "Don't trust her." But curiosity gnawed at me. What was Chloe playing at? I kept my routine, dropping Hazel at school, but the calm I'd felt after the letters was fraying. Chloe didn't back down easily, and I braced for her next move. By Saturday, she made it. Another text. Scarlett, please meet me at the cafe on Elm Street, 2 p.m. I want to make this right. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen. Natalie had said to wait, but I needed to see Chloe's face to know if she was rattled or scheming. I texted back, fine. 2 p.m. I arrived early, choosing a corner table, the cafe's hum of conversation a buffer. Chloe walked in, her lavender perfume announcing her before her smile did. She looked polished, hair perfect, blouse crisp, but her eyes betrayed her, darting nervously. Scarlett, she said, sliding into the chair, I messed up. That vote was a mistake. I was trying to protect the family's harmony. Her voice was soft, rehearsed, like she'd practiced in a mirror. I sipped my coffee, my face blank. Protect it by humiliating me in front of Hazel? I asked, my tone even. She flinched, but her smile held. It wasn't like that. You've been so distant. We thought you didn't want to be part of us anymore. I almost laughed. Distant. They'd pushed me out for years. Then she leaned forward, her voice dropping. Scarlett, you're tearing us apart with this lawyer nonsense. Think of Hazel, she needs her family. My jaw tightened. She was using Hazel, twisting the knife. I was about to call her out when she slipped, her mask cracking. You're making me look bad, she hissed. The family's blaming me for your little stunt. There it was, her real fear. Not remorse, but her precious image crumbling. I stood, my chair scraping the floor. You made your choice, Chloe. So did I. I walked out, her stunned silence following me. She'd thought she could guilt me into backing down, but her slip confirmed everything. This wasn't an apology. It was a desperate bid to save face. I called Natalie from the car, recounting every word. She's panicking, Natalie said, her voice sharp with satisfaction. She's losing control, and the family's turning on her. Stay sharp, Scarlett. That night, I noticed Hazel wasn't herself. She sat at the kitchen table, her sketchbook open, but her pencils untouched. Drawing was her escape, her way of processing the world, but now she just stared, her green eyes dull. Sweetheart, what's wrong? I asked, kneeling beside her. She shrugged, her voice small. I don't feel like drawing. Not since the barbecue. My heart sank. The vote hadn't just hurt me, it had dimmed her spark. I pulled her close, promising myself I'd fix this somehow. Then Sunday morning, my phone pinged with a message from an unexpected number. Layla, a cousin who'd raised her hand that night. Can we talk? Privately, it read. I hesitated, but curiosity won. We met at a park, Hazel playing nearby on the swings. Layla looked nervous, her hands twisting. I was wrong, Scarlett, she said, her voice low. I raised my hand because Chloe pressured us. She's been lying for years, saying you were unstable, that you didn't want Hazel around us. My breath caught. Layla pulled out her phone, showing me emails from Chloe, sent months before the vote. Scarlett's holding us back. We need to move on without her. Proof in black and white. I'm sorry, Layla said, tears in her eyes. I didn't know how bad it was until I heard Hazel cry. I nodded, my throat tight. Layla's betrayal had stung, but her honesty was a lifeline. Will you help me? I asked. She nodded. I'll tell Natalie everything. As we parted, I felt a shift, not just in the fight, but in me. Chloe's grip was slipping, and I had an ally I hadn't expected. But Hazel's untouched sketchbook weighed on me. Could I help her heal before Chloe's next move? I didn't know, but I'd fight for her, no matter what came next. For months after the letters landed, the silence from the family was a quiet I could live with. No more frantic voicemails from Victoria, no more texts from Robert demanding I fix this. Chloe hadn't reached out since her failed cafe ploy, and the cousins, even those who'd raised their hands, stayed mute. I woke each morning without the dread of their judgment, the weight of their exclusion lifted. Hazel and I were building something new, something ours. Our suburban Ohio home, once a place of grief, hummed with small joys, Saturday picnics by the lake, Hazel's laughter as we tossed a frisbee, and Grandpa Mason's visits, his arms full of sugar cookies and bad chess moves. I started therapy, a step I'd resisted for years. I thought it was for people who couldn't hold it together, but my therapist, a kind woman named Ellen, showed me it was for those tired of bleeding in silence. She helped me name what happened at the barbecue. Not just a vote, but emotional abuse, a calculated campaign to erase me. You didn't overreact, she said, her voice steady. You set a boundary. Those words healed something I didn't know was broken. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. And Hazel slowly was finding her way back. One evening, she opened her sketchbook again, drawing a picture of us by the lake, me and Grandpa Mason, our smiles bold in colored pencil. This is our family, she said, her green eyes bright. I hugged her tight. It's ours, and that's enough. Grandpa Mason came by every Saturday, his cane tapping as he and Hazel played chess, both terrible but grinning. He never mentioned the others, and I didn't ask. Layla, though, kept in touch, her texts sporadic but sincere. Chloe's quiet, she wrote once. I think they're ashamed. I didn't need their shame. I needed Hazel to be okay, and she was getting there. Her school art teacher called, praising her latest project, a vibrant mural of a sunrise. She's got a spark, the teacher said. I smiled, knowing that spark had almost gone out, but we'd fought to keep it alive. My job was secure, thanks to Natalie's swift letter to my employer, debunking Chloe's rumors. A coworker apologized for believing the gossip, and the whispers at work stopped. Natalie checked in occasionally, her voice warm but professional. No one's pushed back, she said. You've won this round. I didn't feel like a winner, not exactly. I felt free. Free from walking on eggshells, from shrinking to fit their expectations. Free to be Hazel's mom, not Lucas's widow. One Sunday, Hazel and I sat on our favorite lakefront bench, the one where Lucas used to push her on the swings. She sketched a sailboat, her pencil dancing across the page, while I sipped coffee, the autumn air crisp. Mom, she said, not looking up, are we ever going back to their house? I paused, choosing my words. Not now, sweetheart. We're happy here, aren't we? She nodded, her smile soft. I like our picnics better than their parties. I laughed, my heart full. Me too. I thought about the family sometimes, but not with anger. Healing, I learned, made revenge irrelevant. I didn't want to ruin Chloe's life or make Victoria beg. I wanted Hazel to see what strength looked like. Not shouting, but walking away, head high and building something better. If you're watching this and you've ever felt like you didn't belong, like your silence was mistaken for weakness, know this. Walking away isn't defeat. It's power. Family is an ode. It's chosen, earned, built on love, not blood. Hazel and I found ours with Grandpa Mason's cookies and lakefront sketches, and it's kinder, safer, stronger than anything we left behind. If you've ever had to set a boundary to protect your peace, I'd love to hear about it. Drop your story in the comments. Your voice matters, and this community is a place to share it. Like this video if it resonated, and subscribe for more stories about finding strength and rising above. Thank you for being here. We don't need a room full of people to belong. We just need one space where we're heard.